I'm going to show you where I put my code. Over here in the Octopus, in getNotes, instead of returning model.getAllNotes, I'm going to instead return model.getAllNotes.reverse. So my Octopus, when it passes all of my notes over to my view, it actually reverses it for the view. The view doesn't have to worry about it. Now, I would like you to try to implement another feature. We're going to add a date to every new note that we create. And we're going to display that date too. Now let's just talk generally about how we're going to do that, and then I'll set you off to do it yourself. So first of all, we're going to need to store some kind of date when we make a new note. Now I'm going to open up the console because one great way to do this would be using date.now. When you run date.now, it returns a big number which represents this current moment in time. If I run it again, you'll see that the number has gotten a little bit bigger. So if that's how we store our date, we're going to need to put that inside of our addNewNote function. That's where it creates the object literal, which becomes our note. So now we're not just storing content, we're going to store a date. So that changes our code so that way it's storing a date every time we add a new note. We don't need to change the getNotes function because it just returns all of our notes, including their content and their date, and it reverses them for the view. And speaking of the view, that actually needs to change as well. Now that we're storing dates for our notes, we probably want to display that date as well. Now you can add that in the HTML string down here that we're generating. I'd suggest putting it in an element with a class of note-date, so that way the CSS that I included gets applied properly. Now one last thing, before when we were experimenting with this, we were creating notes that didn't have dates applied. So if you go back into your console here and you run localstorage.clear, it'll wipe away all of the persistent storage. So when we press refresh, we don't have any notes anymore. And all of our notes will then have that date property that you're adding. And now I leave it to you. Go forth and add date stamps to your notes.